and zoom in to different presets. So you can see that's kind of like my layout. I can have a zoomed out effect. And in the right-hand side, while you're seeing all those buttons and everything, that's because that is the desktop capture. But that's how it works. And then you just click this external button down here, and then you can actually take this into any video conferencing software, whether it be Skype or GoToMeeting or WebEx. So I guess I wanted to show off a couple different virtual sets because I did prepare a few just for different reasons.
No, I like this one. Let's stay here.
Well, this is the one that you made, and here's a couple that I've just made. Very basic stuff. This is one for our partner webinar, and one of the things I wanted to show is that vMix just makes it so easy to move things around. Like for example, if I take my foreground, I can actually move this around to get it exactly where I need it. So the power to be able to do that really makes it almost easy for anyone with a little Photoshop skills to create a basic virtual set. Now you're not going to be able to probably make a virtual set that looks like this, something that Eric put together with all this VU mapping and everything, but you can make stuff like, for example, I made this one for a church that I was working with, and I wanted to make one for the pastor so that he could make a really cool presentation of his latest upcoming community events that they were planning. We were working with another school where we decided to make this one, and this one was for a teacher. So the teacher who was doing a lot of meetings with students that weren't in class. It's called kind of like after class hours, like where they have the ability to have a virtual classroom and they can answer questions and video conference with students between the hours of, let's say, 5 and 7. And she had a busy office, a lot of space, a lot of crap behind her, cables and books and things. And she found that by putting in the green screen, the students were really going to be able to focus and look at something like that. So that's just a couple virtual sets I put together. I'll just show you one more. This is a giant boardroom that we have. And of course, all of these virtual sets we're going to give away to one person. Somebody out there who has the funniest joke about during the live stream, during the live chat, we did get one like, so that's $1 extra for our donation. Thank you guys. So Eric, I want to continue to stay in our really cool broadcast space that we have here. What else should we talk about, Eric?
Why don't we talk about your cameras?
That's a good point. That is a very good point. And actually, that totally reminds me that not only are we supposed to be talking about the cameras, but what are the tips we can give people? Because I've had so many people call up, say, we want to do a live show, we want to have a green screen, but we're getting like staticky fuzz around us. And the chroma key is not working perfectly. And I tell them, well, do good lighting, or do this, or do that. Do you have any tips for people who are setting up a green screen?
I do, actually. And this goes back when you were saying that they're getting noise around it. But back in the day, before Component and SDI, we all worked with composite. And a lot of times people would come to me and say, I'm doing a virtual set, but it looks like I have bees around me. And that's the good way of knowing that they're using composite, because the chrominance and luminance were interleaved with each other, and it created an effect like you have swarming bees around you, which is one of my favorite old school problems. And then YC came along, and I don't know if any of you remember that, but it was a big step up where the chrominance and luminance were separated. And then that was a big improvement in terms of quality of the chroma key, because the color had its own pair of wires, so to speak. And then component obviously was a really big step up, because the luminance another name for component is YUV, and the Y is the luminance, just like in YC, and the U and the V is actually 2 channels for color. And then along came SDI, which is still around today. And SDI is short for serial digital interface, and it's a way of conveying the data faithfully from the camera to the chroma keying device. And that actually was believe it or not, so faithful that the edges on a chroma key were actually a tad sharp, and people in a lot of cases preferred the component input. But SDI being the way that people do production today, and looping in and out and in and out and over again without any loss, is really the ideal way of getting your signal in. A second best, or arguably equally as good, is HDMI, and a lot of cameras have HDMI. So the two are really good options. That's going to help a lot with your noise. The next step along the road, a lot of people, they look at our virtual sets and they call me up and they say, what can I do to, which one of these sets looks the most realistic? And I tell people generally that's in the eye of the beholder, but the biggest influencing thing in that regard is not the set. The most impactful thing in terms of the believability of whether the set that you're seeing is real or not has entirely to do with the lighting. If you light the talent for the set that they're in, subconsciously the mind will accept it better. When you're watching a movie and they're doing green screen, they take excruciating care to light the talent and make sure that, if there's a strong light in the background, there's a strong light here. So they're trying to match the lighting. And if you do a good job of that, it's better than anything that you can do in terms of set background. Lighting is also important. People still have a hard time getting an evenly lit background. Getting a nice chrominant, bright green, evenly lit, no shadows, is the best way to make sure that you're not going to have noisy stuff floating around. So those are some tips and a little walk down memory lane. I haven't talked about composite and YC in a very long time, so that was refreshing for me.
Well, thank you, Eric, and thank you everyone who's been giving us likes and subscribes. If you're just tuning in, we are donating actually to the Susquehanna Valley CASA this week. So we're giving $20 for every live show and then an additional $1 for every like or subscribe. 5 of you have already liked. Thank you so much. We're up to $25 for the donation, which makes us feel good. I have some quick tips to add to that, Eric. One thing I noticed is that you don't want to have the sharpness up on your camera too high, right? If you take down the sharpness, a little bit of a softer feel, I feel like that removes some of the noise and the graininess. One of the other things that you can play with is the contrast. Make sure you get that contrast just right, and there's brightness and things like that. But one of the easiest ways, because I've talked to customers who said they've tried everything. They've tried the lighting, they tried this, they tried that, they tried another thing. Use a dark virtual set or a dark background. Because the things that you're trying to hide are these little black dots and these little gray dots and everything. If you have a gray or a black background, you're not going to be able to see those as well as just a white. If you're trying to do like the Apple iTunes completely white background, it's going to show it much more. So that was just another simple tip on how to improve your settings. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been our show. We only go for 20 minutes and we started a little late, so I apologize for that. But we really appreciate your time, everybody. Thank you so much. Please subscribe if you feel like this kind of information is useful for you. We really hope to do this all the time. So thanks so much. Jens was asking about the software we were using. So it's called vMix. It's a really great software. Eric's the guy to talk to. My email address is paul.richards@huddlecamhd.com. Email me if you ever want to be on the show or you have more questions. What's your email address, Eric?
It's eric@virtualsetworks.com. And if you're looking for vMix, that's vmix.com. And if you're looking for the virtual sets, the main virtual set that we saw here behind Matt today, that's at virtualsetworks.com, and all of the rest of them could be gotten through HuddleCam.
Thank you so much for being part of this today, Eric. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Take care.
Bye, everyone.